Okay, Jason Moore here. I'm talking to our vice mayor here in Kingsport, Mike McIntyre. Mr. McIntyre, the big concern I have, and that some of the citizens have sent me messages on, is it seems like with the annexations, especially in the last 10 years, that some of the annexations have been cherry picking the middle income and higher neighborhoods that way. What that ends up doing, in my opinion, is it takes the higher income students and sticks them in Dobbins-Bennett and city schools that way, and the lower incomes into the county schools, which is talked about for 10 years about merging, like Sullivan North and Sullivan South that way. How's that a good thing when Sullivan South itself, I graduated from there in 1992, for 25 years has beat Dobbins-Bennett academically for 25 straight years?
Well, I think you got to be careful. You said we're cherry picking the most thing. The reality is that 53% of the students in the city schools are free and reduced lunch,
right,
which means poor.
Right. I'm talking about annexations in the last 10 years. I know the city.
Let's kind of start at the beginning. Of course, when they changed the law, where you could, smart growth laws they called it, which was done in 1998, and then when they drew the urban growth boundary, which says the city can annex in these areas, which was done about 2000, and there were six groups that agreed to where those lines were. Now, there's some politics in those lines. I look at some of them and say, why did they decide to do it that way? I mean, I wasn't involved in it. But the agencies that agreed, of course, some don't seem to have a lot of concern, but Kingsport and Bristol, Sullivan County were three. Washington County, Johnson City, and Morris County were all involved. Because tons of drawn where those lines are. And so they drove the thing, and the law was passed, and you could annex before. There wasn't, in the first few years, there wasn't a lot of done.
Let's go put this fire out,
Anyway, I think the Planning Commission was looking at, and what happened, the Planning Commission was kind of looking at annexing. Of course, they had a moratorium on Colonial Heights in 2010 that was agreed to, and I don't even know exactly that whole story. But the Planning Commission was kind of looking at going out Fall Creek Road and kind of back this way and annexing. And then the folks that developed in Edinburgh came along, and the city said, well, let's go out Rock Springs Road. Here's a big area that's going to be developed. And so all that, started out that way. And then they've done a good job. So it was filling in through there. And there wasn't a whole lot done out the Fall Creek way.
My parents lived on Blakely when they got annexed, and the road got tore up, and sewer lines got put in. But it became a house that they could have easily sold in the county versus a house that sat on the market for a year and a half because it was in the city.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the house. I do know that while this was going on, and you've got the disaster in 2007 and 2008, the Great Recession, if you will, which affected a lot of growth, affected the value of a lot of property. I mean, it was an ugly time for everybody. I think this region maybe fared a little better than a lot of areas because we didn't have this large people out of work and so forth. But then you go 5%.
But they moved to the county, and now they're in the city again. They can't escape.
Well, yeah, I understand that. I think that my view is that that we have areas that are very suburban, and I agree Fall Creek certainly still kind of agriculture, it's not all, it's kind of growing up, but people that are needing city services. We've gone this area from a septic tank standpoint.
Right.
It's not the best soil in the world for septic tanks. There's some that work fine, and there's others that don't. And in fact, that's why a lot of Colonial Heights, and I don't know the whole story of why the county and the city got together and put sewers in Colonial Heights. I know there was a time, which I used to have a very good friend, He's been in bed now for about 20 years. That lived in Colonial Heights. That back in the 50s and 60s wanted to come in the city, kind of said.
Colonial Heights was the largest growing community in 1959 in the area.
Well, it's Jim Welch Sr., who my friend was, and Jim used to talk about, we wanted to come in, and the city didn't. It was too expensive to put sewers in, and so.
And his son writes for the papers, was it the same?
It's his son.
Yeah, good deal. Yeah, I like it.
So anyway, back we've gone out that way, and then when the moratorium was over, so many of these areas where we've sewered, we brought in the city. Most people, I hear the concern about, I've got to pay city taxes now. The reality is, unless your home is worth a fairly expensive home, $250,000 or more, you probably break even coming into the city, because now you don't have to pay for garbage, your sewer and water rates have been cut in half, and some other things. And it depends on who your insurance carrier is. The insurance on some carriers, because you've gone from an ISO 8 to an ISO 3 rating, has made a difference.
So double some utility bills, though. I mean, I live in the city. I live on Yunkin Street, and my house payment, I paid a lot on my house when I bought it in 2010. It was $390, and now it's $415, and that's all city. Taxes. It's gone up $25 in 4 years. $25 in 4 years.
What? And your property tax?
A month. My payment is. So times 12, $300 a year. That adds up. I mean, somebody like
you're talking about your escrow payments on it.
Yeah.
It's gone up $300. Well, because we haven't raised taxes but one time. We did this past year, but it may have been boom.
Yeah. Well,
because unfortunately, I don't consider myself much of a politician, but we really don't like to raise taxes, and we hadn't really raised taxes since like 2005. It's been 9 years since we had raised taxes.
You think it's because of the newspaper though? Because they said it was going to be at 5:30 instead of 4:30.
Well, initially it was announced 5:30. One section of the paper said 4:30, the other one said 5:30. And then they made me some people would come in. I wouldn't stay.
I got here early and some of them were commenting. I hate to say that. They were like, "Well, we only have to work 30 minutes and we go home."
Well, of course, about half the people here are city employees that aren't getting paid. They're salaried and they're not getting paid to be here.
Those two there, the dentists that you're talking to, came here because they want to be in.
Well, I know a lot of people about people that out in Tooks Valley area and all that aren't. I know 2 or 3 folks that said, if you figure a way, why don't you come take our subdivision?
But how that?
And now,
what that does in Sullivan Central, Sullivan North.
Well, one of them had her youngest daughter just graduated from Central. So, it's been said, I'd just really like to be in that. But it's the school thing is an issue that's and it would be nice if we could have one system. But, there's folks that don't, thinking, well, that system's better than that.